So we are now moving into our Ben Affleck director spotlight. I've been very excited for this one because I was very excited for him to release a new movie, Air. His first movie, he made his directorial debut in 2007 with Gone Baby Gone. By then, he was already a very bankable movie star. He had starred as Jack Ryan. He won an Oscar for Good Will Hunting. He did Pearl Harbor, Kevin Smith movies, Armageddon, a bunch of them. Dazed and Confused, by the way, one of his first roles. I recently saw it and I loved it. So Gone Baby Gone, like we said, was his first movie, and it starred his brother, Casey Affleck, and was written. It was written by him, but based on the book by Dennis Lehane. Not the last time he adapted a book by him. And yeah, who else did this movie star?
This movie actually starred, like you said, Casey Affleck, Morgan Freeman, Michelle Monaghan, Amy Ryan, who was actually nominated for Best Supporting Actress that year, and Ed Harris. And let me tell you that they all do a fantastic job. And I think Amy Ryan's award shout was deserved, even though I don't remember who she was competing with in that year.
I think it was the year Tilda Swinton won for Michael Clayton, which, having seen that movie, Amy Ryan was better. Let's look at the lineup that year and the talks of if it holds up. Nominated that year alongside Amy Ryan were Tilda Swinton for Michael Clayton, who won. No, that was the year before, sorry. Kate Blanchett for I'm Not There, which haven't seen yet. Ruby Dee for American Gangster, or Saoirse Ronan for Atonement. Saoirse Ronan was really good, actually.
Has been around for that long?
She was 14 when she was nominated,
that makes more sense.
Amy Ryan was really good in this movie, and having seen this one, I think it's a bit slow, but I think it did a really good job of creating this noir-like atmosphere. It's in Boston, right?
Of course, it's in Boston.
Of course. I just needed to make sure.
They all talk like they're from, Boston.
Yeah. All these crime movies in Boston are just so good, like Mystic River and Departed and so on. Ben Affleck did a really good job in his first movie creating that, like, dark environment where even the police sometimes are dirty and everything is, like, crime and dishonest. And what do you think of Casey Affleck in the movie?
I thought he was great. He's a great actor. I think he wasn't that much into himself just yet, like he was in Manchester by the Sea. I think because he was really young also when he took this role.
How old was he? He was 32.
30, yeah, 32. Movie. Yeah. So he was really young, but he did well. I liked this movie more before I watched. I've been watching The Wire. Like, I'm in season 4 right now, and all that street stuff with like the questions of morality and all that. I think they do so much better in The Wire. I know that they have like
but
hours.
I feel like you have to compare like if you compare every crime thing ever to The Wire, it's like you're gonna hate crime.
I know, but like maybe I think all crime movies are going down a notch now that I watched The Wire.
Oh god.
But yeah, I just remember that because Amy Ryan is in The Wire, and
that makes sense though.
So
you know what she's fantastic in? Only Murders in the Building.
She's great. She's also great in The Office.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's right.
She's amazing in The Office.
That's right.
But she's a completely different character. In all of these movies and shows, like she's a really good actress. Anyway, but the movie itself, it's a pretty good movie. It's not my favorite of Ben Affleck's.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as like a directorial debut goes, top notch.
I feel like the middle is really slow.
Yeah.
But when you get to the last 20, 30 minutes, it's really memorable.
Yeah. Also, I don't know about you, but I kind of hate the main character.
Like Casey Affleck's character?
Yeah.
He was
so annoying to me. Like, I was 100% with Michelle Monaghan, like, especially in that ending. I was 100% with her. I was like, yeah, man, she's right. Everyone else is right, and you're fucking wrong.
That's the thing. Like, I feel like there was a really good dilemma at the end in that twist. I feel like that was such good writing, how, like, it tears apart the characters. I don't want to give it away if you haven't seen it, because it's a really good twist ending as to why the titular baby is gone. I don't know why they are gone, baby, gone. And Ed Harris was also great. There's some great action in a couple of scenes that he's in.
Morgan Freeman is Morgan Freeman in this movie.
Yeah, I just saw a movie with him yesterday, and he was Morgan Freeman in it too.
Yeah.
But to be fair, his acting was good in that ending.
Yeah, 100%. Like he has like a speech at the end, like a really good monologue, and he nails it. And again, I was 100% with him and against Casey Affleck.
But like, since you recently saw it, did you think Casey Affleck did a good job with his monologue at the end there, or did the character annoy you just because of the character?
Yes, but the character's choice was so bad in my opinion that I just hated him.
This is good.
Like Casey Affleck did a good job.
Like it was the right choice, but the wrong choice. Like there's so many layers to it.
I understood the choice, but I hated it, if that makes sense.
I do get it. I still don't know whose side I'm on at that ending. Even though I'm leaning towards you. But what was I going to say? Michelle Monaghan. Also, I'm like always... Monaghan? Is that how you say it?
Yeah, I think that's how you say it.
No, you're right. I'm always rooting for her to be in more stuff. I'm really excited whenever she's in a movie. So this is one of the better movies she's in for sure. Yeah,
she's great. And again, especially in that ending, her acting like really comes off. And like... yeah, like all the time, it's very weird because I don't know if that's I think that's really on the script, but also on the actors. That at least for me, I was most of the movie I was agreeing with him, and then it flipped totally on its head, and I was like, oh my god, Michelle Monaghan's character was right all along. So like that's a good script. This is a good movie.
And also like Ben Affleck came in this with a writing Oscar win, so like. A lot of writers make that successful jump to directing. Some don't. But I think he right away proved that he was here to stay as a filmmaker.
Ready for some grades?
Yeah. Am I going first?
Yeah, go ahead.
I'll give Gone Baby Gone 7.5 out of 10.
Okay. So for me, even though I think I complained more about it than you did, maybe I gave it an 8 out of 10. So
fair.
So yeah,
it's a good movie, but I think actually no, except for one more, it would be the last one that I would rewatch if you told me to rewatch his filmography.
What, you don't rewatch Live by Night?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so let's move on to his next movie that came out in 2010, a little Bostonian movie called The Town.
I wonder where Ben Affleck grew up.
Oh, yeah. Where him and Matt Damon grew up. Do you want to tell us a little bit about Das Town?
Yeah, so Ben Affleck wrote this movie with Aaron Stockard, who wrote Gone Baby Gone with him as well, and with Peter Craig, who also was nominated for an Oscar this year for writing Top Gun Maverick. And he's also the son of Sally Field, which is wild. The Town was released in 2010, and it stars Ben Affleck along with Rebecca Hall, John Hamm, Jeremy Renner, who was Oscar nominated for his second time for Best Supporting Actor, and also Pete Postlethwaite in one of his final film roles before he passed away. He was a fantastic actor. And yeah, I love this movie, honestly. I remember watching this movie even before I saw Gone Baby Gone, and I was just riveted by the plot. I thought it was a really interesting storyline because what happens is they commit a bank robbery and they hold this hostage for a couple of minutes before letting her go, and she's played by Rebecca Hall. And then, like any Hollywood movie, Ben Affleck meets her again and forms a romance by hiding who he is. And
classic Hollywood.
Yeah. Basically like every Hollywood movie.
So the Town actually covers it's a story about a failed hockey player from the Boston Projects that wound up in the life of crime, as a pseudo mastermind of low level heists, aided by his childhood friend, played by Jeremy Renner, James Coughlin. But like you know that like gangster movies are not really what I love the most. So like comparatively, it's not as good for me as Gone Baby Gone, but it's still a fantastic movie.
For reference, I'm the opposite. I've seen like pretty much every Scorsese organized crime movie. I really love those movies.
Yeah. I'm not really that big of a fan. Like I watch all of them, but like usually they're not my favorites.
First of all, I think one of the best parts of this movie was Jeremy Renner's performance. I think he really deserved that Oscar nomination because he's a lot more unhinged than Ben Affleck's character, and he really did a great job of like creating a personality that's distinct from all of Renner's other performances. So I think if you look back at like the acting in his movies, Jeremy Renner in The Town definitely one that I would shout out.
I think one of the things I like the most about this movie, how the heights keep getting like bigger and bigger and like more stakes are involved in it, and yeah, I love the game of cat and mouse that they have going on with the police and with the detectives, and yeah.
And I also felt like anyone could die in the people do die in this movie, but it wasn't like a blockbuster where it's like everyone has to survive to get to the final act. Like the guns and the stakes, it felt real for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
Basically, there's like the whole chase scene, and then can we spoil things? I don't know.
It did come out 13 years ago.
So spoiler warning for The Town at the end, right? Like Jeremy Renner kills himself. I don't think it was really a sacrifice. He just didn't want to go to prison.
Yeah.
It's kind of a cool scene because he's like, they're like, put your hands up, and he's like, okay, and then he points his gun even though he's out of ammo, and then they just shoot him. Which, like, I was 14 when I watched it, and I was like, oh, that's a wild death.
That was fucked up.
And then he goes to Pete Postlewaite's store and kills him too, because I think he was like endangering Rebecca Hall. By the way, Rebecca Hall.
That's a great scene. By the way, the scene that Ben Affleck's character kills what's his name, Pete
Postlewaite.
I'm not gonna try to pronounce that.
That was also a brutal death.
Yeah. But like all their conversations, like Affleck and him, are fantastic.
Rebecca Hall, I just think she always delivers amazing performances.
She does.
From her earlier career, this might be her best work. And lately she's been in like more, I guess, smaller movies, like not like major studio like Warner Brothers. And she blows me away. Like The Gift, directed by Joel Edgerton, or The Night House, or Resurrection, like these smaller thrillers. She's just always great. And now she's gotten into directing movies too. She directed Passing with Tessa Thompson.
Oh, she was the one that directed that?
Yeah.
It's a good movie. What do you say about grades in this movie?
The Town, honestly, it's a 9 out of 10 for me.
Okay, so for me, I put it just... I know I said I prefer Gone Baby Gone, but like after like talking about it, maybe I'll put it right with it. So another 8 for me. Out of these ones, it might be the one that I rewatch next, just because I rewatched the next one we're going to talk about also last week. We're going to talk about a movie that a lot of people say it's Ben Affleck's best directorial effort, and it's Argo from 2012.
Do you agree with that?
We'll get there in the end of the show. Don't worry about it. Argo, man. Argo's such a good movie. I'll tell you first a little bit about it before we get into it. Again, it's the third movie directed by Ben Affleck. It came out in 2012, and it tells the story about a CIA agent that plans an operation to rescue 6 Americans in Tehran during the coup, like the hostage crisis.
Mm-hmm.
And Ben Affleck both plays the CIA agent as well as directs this movie. It was written by Chris Terrio, Tony Mendes, and Joshua Berman.
No, Tony Mendes wrote the book about his life.
Okay, sorry. So IMDb, I'm blaming that on you.
And Ben Affleck plays Tony Mendes, and it was based on his autobiography.
Okay, that makes more sense. Anyway, so like Chris Terrio then was the writer, which it's kind of weird because he wrote also Batman v Superman, but whatever.
Yeah, he went from winning an Oscar for adapted screenplay to Batman v Superman and Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker.
Oh my God, Chrissy, what's happening, bud?
I want to say one thing about Argo. It's just a scene that I really love, where Alan Arkin's talking to Ben Affleck, and he's telling the story, and he's like, "You know what I said to him at the end? Argo, fuck yourself." And that's like the mod. Like they keep bringing back that phrase in the movie.
That's really good.
And Alan Arkin was also nominated for Best Supporting Actor Oscar for this movie. which is cool because it's like mostly a comedic performance. I love this movie. I think this is an example of taking a true story that I don't think a lot of people in the public would have heard about if not for the book and the movie, and B, it's just like
Also, I don't know if it has that like people that are not in America didn't hear about.
Exactly, it has
they watched
like
the movie, yeah.
But I think they made it something really riveting with the movie, because it's also like it's a movie also that's based on a lie, because it's this movie that could be discovered is fake by the government at any moment, and they're trying to use it as a ruse in order to save these people. So also like the diplomatic part, but also the fake movie part. They have like they show you the table reads and the costumes and everything.
That's so fun. Like that part of the movie, it's fantastic. Like they putting together the fake movie, and like they're having like all these meetings and to like kind of like trick the system. Yeah.
Yeah, and I remember John Goodman being really good as well in the movie.
He's pretty good. I feel like also the just like the heroine real story about this guy that like came up with this crazy scheme.
Yeah,
just works so well as a movie. Like
it's one of those where it's like if you didn't know, you wouldn't believe it was real kind of movies.
Exactly. And I want to shout out like the visuals of this movie. They're really good. Like especially when they're in Tehran.
Mm-hmm.
Like again, I said that about the other movies, but like Ben Affleck is a great visual director. And it's a goddamn shame he didn't get to direct Batman. But let's not talk about that.
Not to mention, he wasn't nominated for Best Director for this movie, which is weird. Because he won like all the other precursors. He won Golden Globe for directing, the Directors Guild Award for directing.
And
didn't get nominated for
and he
directing.
Won as a producer best picture for this movie.
Yeah, it's rare. Like
so, it's so
since
stupid.
This movie
you should have won Best Director, not even just being nominated.
Yeah, that year, Best Director ended up going to Ang Lee for Life of Pi, which love that movie, but that's a different story.
I don't agree.
You don't like it?
No, I like that movie, but I don't agree. I think Ben Affleck should have won that year. Like,
I rewatched like their Best Picture win, and it's him, George Clooney, and Grant Heslov were the producers who won. And Grant Heslov comes, and the first thing he starts the speech with is, "I know what you're thinking. 3 sexiest producers in Hollywood," which is kind of funny. But yeah, also I love the scene where he gets the idea, which is he's on the phone with his son, and Planet of the Apes comes on the TV, and they're really talking about science fiction. There's a similar scene, I guess, in Air when someone gets an outrageous idea to pull off the impossible. I always remember like the plane scene where they, where the soldiers are chasing them.
That's like one of the best scenes in the movie. It's like the most tense scene in the movie, and it's like I've rewatched now after not watching it for like I don't know 6 or 7 years, and like that scene, like your blood is like your heart is pumping and like your blood is like red. Yeah, it's crazy.
It's one of the best scenes he's ever directed.
Yeah,
and also
and when the plane goes off, like and there's the relief, you feel the relief.
I know.
Them. And like you're happy, you're smiling, like yeah.
And it's acted so well soon. Like wow, we just took off. We're off the ground. There's nothing they can do. Our lives are safe. They've made movies that are similar to Argo that, as movies, are not as interesting to watch.
Yeah,
which is why I like compare them to Argo, because Argo's the best one.
Yeah, Argo's like the one you compare to. So what's your grade for Argo?
Honestly, I would give Argo like a 9.5 out of 10. I think it's a really good true story that again only works so well because of the writing and the directing. That elevates like a really complicated story into this, like you said, like it's really tense and you're relieved with the characters. I want to watch it again now that we talk about it.
Yeah, I just watched it and I want to watch it again, so that's how good this movie is.
And it's also paced so well. It's 2 hours and it just really goes by.
Yeah, it's a 10 out of 10 for me. I love this movie.
Wow.
It's one of my favorite movies.
A deserved Best Picture winner.
Yeah. Are you ready to talk about the next? Because we don't talk about Live by Night here.
Yeah, so disclaimer, Live by Night, I only saw it because of this episode, and then Alan decided not to.
I forgot to watch it until today, and then I was like, I'm not watching it.
Listen, you're not missing out much. It's okay. Like, it's not, I don't think it's 33% worthy, but it's
probably
just,
like a 5 out of 10?
Something like that. It's just a generic, like, there's some really good action scenes that he directed. That's about as far as it goes. Like, I guess he has a nice romance with Zoe Saldana in the movie.
Screw it. Let's talk about what we want to talk about.
Live by Night you can skip.
After his whole DCU debacle and the Live by Night debacle, Ben Affleck took a little bit of a break, and he chose his next project very carefully. And I guess he chose right, didn't he? Because he directed Air. Air just came out last month, or like a couple of weeks back. And as you see, I wrote it here. Can it contend instead of review?
What?
Because I think that this movie is going to be a big Oscar player this year.
Wow. That's bold.
This movie tells the story about what's his name?
Sonny Vaccaro.
Sonny Vaccaro. He was the guy that worked in the marketing department at Nike, in the marketing basketball department, I guess, of Nike, which was, let's say at that time, kind of shit.
Yeah, he even says, like, we have one thing the other shoe companies don't. Our basketball division is terrible.
Exactly. And yeah, it's the story about how he turned that division around by signing one Mr. Michael not B. Jordan.
Michael A. Jordan.
Michael A. Jordan.
That's a joke from Space Jam 2, where he's like, we got Michael Jordan. Then Michael B. Jordan comes and he's like, you couldn't get Michael A. Jordan, so you got Michael B. Jordan.
Oh, man. So this movie is written by Alex Covery, and of course it's directed by Ben Affleck.
This is his first script, by the way.
Wow.
It was on the blacklist, and then they found it and said it looks like a bankable topic, a great movie, and Ben Affleck and Matt Damon did it.
That's fantastic. Again, Matt Damon plays Vaccaro, and Jason Bateman plays, I guess, the marketing head of the basketball division. Ben Affleck is also in this movie. He's not the main person, like the main character, like he was in Argo. He plays Phil Knight, which is fantastic. He's the CEO of Nike, and Ben Affleck does a so good job here. He's one of the funniest performances I've seen in a while.
I wonder if he's humble for giving Matt Damon the lead role instead of himself, or not for making him the most powerful character
in the movie. I think he did. I think he made the right choice.
I agree.
This way he could focus more on the directing. You can see that this movie is really well directed, and also like he could go a bit crazy, because Sonny Vaccaro is a bit of an ordinary Joe, and Phil Knight is like this larger than life character.
Exactly.
So I think he got the better end of the deal in that one. Also, Chris Messina plays David Falk. He gives Ben Affleck a run for his money, and the funniest guy in this movie.
Oh man,
a completely different reason.
I think he was the funniest.
He's just an asshole.
Look, he was going into this movie. He was, I guess, my least favorite of the main cast, but I think he honestly gave the best performance.
No, he was so good. And Viola Davis plays Michael Jordan's mom, Dolores Jordan. And that was apparently a request from Michael Jordan himself.
I read that after. That's wild.
So that's great. Like he said, the only way you can do this movie is if Viola Davis is my mom. And that was a great choice. She's a fantastic actress.
And James Jordan Sr. is played by her actual husband, Julius Tenen.
Oh, really? That's her husband?
It's Viola's husband.
That's amazing.
So I'm sure they had a blast working on this movie together.
Yeah, and Chris Tucker also does a fantastic job as Howard White. And
he plays Chris Tucker in a suit, basically.
But he's fun. He's so fun to watch.
So you know how we were talking, like you said, crime movies aren't my thing, or I said, oh, maybe like the plot of Argo, if not for the execution, wouldn't have been intriguing for everyone. Going into Air, like sports, business, basketball, drafting people, etc. That is my thing. I get interested in that. Basketball
to be fair,
is a
this
sport.
movie is also my thing because it's a business movie, and you know that's one of my favorite types of movies.
It's also like the ultimate dad movie because
I love dad movies.
This gives me hope in dad movies and movies, honestly. Yeah. It's just such a fun dad. And I went with my dad and my mom and my grandparents, which was a lot of fun. Nice. Right away from the opening titles of the movie, the soundtrack is really good. It gives a really 80s feel.
I love the montage of the 80s in the beginning.
1984, like the beginning of it.
It's so good, man.
And
I love how this movie is also kind of like shot as if it was shot in the 80s. Did you catch that?
It's shot on film, yeah. I was about to say.
Really good. Really
good. It honestly reminded me a bit of Winning Time, The Rise of the Lakers Dynasty.
Yeah, because that's also shot like that.
Yeah, and it also has like real montages, and it's about like how this movie's about how one guy believed that a shoe and an athlete could change the world for the better, and it did, as we know. And he had nothing; he had everything to lose, and like not as much to back him as the others. Like it's wild that Nike was the underdog, as opposed to Converse and Adidas at that time.
Yeah, because now they're like bigger than both of them.
Yeah, but he had this insane belief that, you know, even like Michael Jordan was a rookie at the time. He wasn't the star that we know him.
He was just drafted. He wasn't. He didn't. He had never set foot on an NBA court, which they say at one point to him.
He put everything on the line. He had no evidence to prove that what he was going to do was about to pay off, and it changed everything. Yeah. Like Michael Jordan made sports, made celebrity a completely different entity because of who he was. And
what else can we say? Like, this movie is fantastic. Go out and watch it. It's still playing in the movie theaters.
Like I said, I love the soundtrack. I love the way that the story progressed. You know what's going to happen, obviously, but the journey, the process, the work. I think that's part of the theme. Also, is like the work, the struggle. That's part of what makes the job worth it.
I guess we should talk a little bit about like, since I put it here, who cares? This movie is like Oscar chances. I feel like it has a lot. I think this movie has a real shot at writing at original screenplay. It's a really good screenplay, really powerful. I don't know if Matt Damon can get there because it's so early and there's probably going to be more interesting stuff maybe later on, but I hope he can.
I don't think it's going to happen, and it's not because...
Hopefully, this is more me being hopeful than anything else. I think Ben Affleck deserves to get it.
For supporting actor?
For director.
Oh,
Yeah. I love this movie. I know you didn't love it as much, but...
No, I still really liked it. Here's my take. For directing, I don't know. It would be a bit of a wild card, but if this movie holds up, I think Golden Globes was maybe a chance for like actor for Matt Damon, Best Picture comedy. I don't think it's comedy, but I think they'll put it there anyway
because
put it in comedy there's a couple funny moments. Yeah. They did that with The Martian, and it won Best Comedy, even though it's not really a comedy. But he makes like two jokes. But I think
this one is even it could be a comedy way more than.
I understand. I understand it though. Yeah. For Oscars right now, I see it like original screenplay, best case scenario. If it got Best Picture, I don't know if it deserves it, but I wouldn't argue with it just because like. I wouldn't feel good like talking smack about Air because it's such a feel-good movie, and I'm glad that it's a movie that's made and that Amazon decided to send a movie back to theaters.
Yeah,
because they haven't done that in like 2 years. Directing, I don't think that's the stretch. Actor for Matt Damon, no, I don't think so because it's really early in the year, and
he gives a monologue in this movie that made me believe.
No, he's great. He's great. Like, in order for an April movie performance to get in, you have to be really strong. Like, Austin Butler in Elvis, that movie came out in June, and he was, like, that performance was a beast. Besides that, a lot of the nominated performances come out really later in the year.
I know, but we just came off a year where 3 of them came out in, like, February.
In March, yeah, I guess. But again, that was, I feel like Everything Everywhere All at Once was a real beast. So, you really can't know. It all depends on the campaigning. If they screen it a lot... I feel like it has a similar like dad movie crowd pleaser element that Top Gun Maverick had, where if they campaign it well,
also like a Social Network kind of vibe to it. That like, and Social Network did get what's his name?
David Fincher, Jesse Eisenberg.
Jesse Eisenberg got out, right? He got like a
but that was like a December movie.
Yeah, but I mean like the type of movie, the launch date.
Yeah, so it all depends. I feel like. If this is the movie that Amazon has some of the most faith in terms of campaigning for awards, and they screen it well, it could do well. But even then, I feel like original screenplay would be something that is like, oh, that's really good that it got that. Just because, I don't know, if this movie came out in November, December, I would say it's a much bigger contender. But I don't know.
You're undermining how many friends Ben Affleck has.
That is also true. But again, like Last Duel didn't get nominated for anything or so on. I don't know. Like, I don't know if he's been in that many Oscar-nominated movies since. If anything, Matt Damon's had a stronger career at the Oscars than Affleck, even though he's won less. Like, he's had more nominations over time.
Anyway,
But again, like you said, they have friends in high places and they produced it.
Exactly. I believe it.
Believe like Sonny Vaccaro did, and it'll happen.
Let's start with grades. What is your grade? I'm sure it's lower than mine.
Look, right now I'm saying 8 out of 10, but if I watch it again, if I think about it, it could go up to 8.5. Like, it's not that anything was missing. I just watched it and I felt like 8 out of 10 movie, which is still great. It's still great, still one of the best of the year so far.
Honestly, my favorite movie of the year so far. 9.5 out of 10.
9.5.
Yeah. Okay, you ready for the top 5, I guess? For me, it would be top 4. So I'm guessing Live by Night is your 5th?
Yeah, Live by Night is 5.
Let's skip that one.
Okay.
Then. So tell me your 4, 3, 2, and then 1. Even though I think from our grades it might be obvious which one is the one.
Honestly, just because it's newer, I'll say 4, Gone Baby Gone, 3, Air, 2, The Town.
Okay. So for me, it's a very different. 4, The Town, 3, Gone Baby Gone, 2, Air.
It's like the reverse. But I don't disagree with Air being higher. I just think I have more hindsight with like having seen The Town and loving it for longer.
It's literally just because it's my type of movie. Just like crime is your type of movie, business is my type of movie.
It's not even the type of movie that put it above. Like if both of them came out in if I'd seen both in 2016, 17, and I'd have that hindsight with both of them, then maybe Air would be. I don't know yet. That's the thing. I feel like I just consumed Air.
Okay. You do that. You do that every day. And obviously,
that's not intentional at all.
And obviously, from what's missing here, our number 1 is obviously Argo.
Yeah, exactly.
And for good reason. I do think that there's a chance that Air could surpass it, given enough years. But for now, it won't. We love Ben Affleck. He's honestly one of my favorite directors, definitely in my top 20. And yeah, man, go watch Air. It's a fantastic movie, and it's a goddamn miracle that a mid-range movie like that is playing in the multiplex. So go watch that instead of God knows what other garbage is there right now.
Yeah, honestly, like, I know that everyone who hasn't seen either will tell you the opposite, but watch Air over Mario.
I still haven't watched Mario, even though like it's one of my. I think I'm gonna like it. I think I'm gonna be one of the contrarians.
It's just like it just felt like an AI movie.
Okay. Anyway, so go watch Air. Bye.
Have a good week, guys.
Film Fanatics. From the silver screen to your earphones with Alan Azulay and Gal Balaban.